Am I visible and audible?
Yes, yes. Hello everyone. Welcome to today's speaker session of GDSC Banasthali Vidyapith. This is Komal Sharma, a team member of Banasthali Vidyapith, and today we are here with an exciting session on UI UX. A huge thanks to our audience for awaiting this session and joining us today. If this is indeed your very first time attending a GDSC event, let me guide you through GDSC. Google Developer Student Clubs are college communities run by students who encourage peers for building a collaborative environment that has the potential to generate solutions to real world problems. And GDSC Banasthali Vidyapith is one among them. With that being said, we take immense pride in introducing our guest speaker for today's session, Ms. Vaishnavi Dwivedi, a founder of Michi Spotlight. She is a full stack product designer and has taught UX design to hundreds of folks through the hashtag 100 Days of UX program and several hands on workshops. She is also the Github Field Expert for the India region. We are glad to have you here, ma'am. Talking about today's agenda, it includes basics of UX designing, application of UX, opportunities in UX designing, working style of designers, basic Figma, and Figma tutorial. Without any further ado, let's dive right into the insights of UI UX designing. I would request all of you to drop down any queries that you have throughout the session. Over to you, ma'am.
All right, thank you so much for that introduction. And yeah, like looking forward to this session. I think, I've been active in in the chat section as well. So yeah, feel free to drop any questions at any point that you like, if you have any, and I'll be happy to answer them. So, all right. So, in today's session, we'll mostly look into what UI and UX is and what are these terms, what do they mean, and we'll be clearing a lot of misconceptions about a lot of things that beginners think about, like graphic designing, and what do UX designers or UI UX designers actually do, and whether the salary is as competitive, is this actually a field that is supposed to, that you should probably pursue or not. So yeah, we'll talk about all of these things, and everything that I'm saying, obviously, take it with a pinch of salt, because when it comes to UX, a lot of things are subjective, and that's the beauty of the field as well. There's nothing like, there are many principles that are definitely absolute. There are different laws and different things that you can learn as you go. But for this particular workshop, I will be acting like as an icebreaker for you to, like, jump into this field and just learn about all the things that this field has to offer. So yeah, without further ado, let's get started then. So first of all, how many of you, like, I asked this question in the chat as well, but how many of you are you are familiar with UI UX? Just like, if anyone hasn't answered that question, do let me know, so that I can, like, just organize the pace of the session based on that, because I don't want to go too slow if there are a lot of people who are already familiar with these things, and I don't want to go too fast for people who haven't delved more deeper into these things. So yeah, like, just a quick yes or no would suffice. But yeah, I think from the previous round of answers, I would say most of you haven't. So let's just, like, take that as our lead, and let's get started. So first of all, a lot of you have this question. Okay, what is graphic designing and what is UI UX designing? Are these two the same thing, or they are different? A lot of you confuse UI UX designing with graphic designing. Now I'm going to tell you the difference between the two. Okay, and it's a pretty basic difference, like something that, once you, like, sort of put your mind to it and think about it logically, it will make sense to you. So basically the graphic designers that are there, they are more pixel focused, meaning that these people, their primary goal is to create assets and, like, illustrations. So let's just say that, you open, let's say, an app today. Okay, maybe like an app which has a mascot as a cat or something, right? Or, just in general, like, if you open Instagram and see a poster on Instagram, so that is the work of a graphic designer, right? And they are more focused on creating assets, posters, illustrations, things, and things like that. So that is different. And now, when it comes to UX designer or UI UX designer, as we usually call it for the, like, for marketing purposes, so basically it's actually, UI UX design is not, like, UI UX are not exactly two different things. UX is an umbrella term and UI is a part of UX, and we'll go into it further. So from now on, what I will be doing is, instead of saying UI UX, I'll be saying UX design. Okay. So I hope that you all are with me on that. So for UX design, these people are more user focused. They look at, they design things based on, for user, they design user interfaces for mobile applications, web applications, and they are more user focused in the sense that they are creating something for the person who is going to be using these web applications or mobile applications. Obviously, when you're creating a mobile application, you're not just doing it for the sake of it, right? You're not just doing it so that you can put it on GitHub and just like show it off to people that, okay, I've built a mobile application, here's the code, and here's the stuff. You're like, most of the times people build mobile applications so that another person can use that mobile application to sort of fulfill some sort of purpose or do some sort of task. So if you're creating, let's say, a mobile application that is helping you calculate, or like a calculator or something like that. So if you're creating a calculator on as a mobile app, let's say using Flutter or Android or something, you're making this particular app for someone, and a UX designer thinks about that person who is going to be using this particular application, and then around that entire user, their needs, their pain points, everything that they need to, like, everything that they need to, like, just fulfill the task or solve their problems, or whatever it is that the tool is solving. That is what the UX designer is more focused on, and that those are the kind of experiences that a UX designer builds. And that is why I think now you might understand why is there so much depth in this field of UX design, because there's a lot of things to do. There's a lot of things to understand here. We have to understand the user. We have to understand what kind of what kind of demographics do they have, what kind of user this is, what kind of problems do they face, and how to solve them properly, and what would be the best way to construct an experience for these people. Now, I don't want to get too technical or like go in a very high level here. I just want to make sure that everybody is on the same page. So if you have any doubts or if you didn't understand anything, just let me know. Okay, and I'll be happy to answer any questions. So yeah, I hope that is clear. I hope this much is clear. Just drop a yes on the chat. I know that the YouTube and the Meet is not exactly very in sync. So I'm just going to move on, but I hope that it's clear. And if there are any questions, we'll take them up. Now, like I said before, that UX is an umbrella term and UI is just a part of UX, right? So now, what does that exactly mean? What do these terms mean individually first? We'll understand that, and then you'll understand why UX is an umbrella term and UI is a part of UX. So let's get started. Let's see. So UX is user experience. I think a lot of you might already know this. If not, just take a note. X is from the experience X. So UX, that means user experience, and UI means user interface, similar to GUI that you may have heard in your college courses, like graphical user interfaces. But those are again a little bit different. We won't focus on that right now. So like forget about that. Just keep it in a corner. But for now, for the purpose of this session, we'll look at UX and UI. So UX is basically when you're doing user experience, you're basically constructing an experience, keeping in mind how will the user feel when a person is using a particular application. So let's just like take an example and we'll go deeper into that. But first also let's just look at UI as well. So when you look at a user interface, basically a user interface is what would the product or what would this thing look like to the user, right? So let's just say today I open Instagram. I think most of you, everyone here would have used Instagram at least once in their lives, right? Even if you've like blocked your account or just deactivated it for some time, but you've used Instagram, right? So you just open Instagram. If you open Instagram, you see whatever you see on the screen over there, right? When you go on your homepage, there's like there might be a post, there might be some stories, there might be that that DM icon on the top. So that is the user interface. That is how it looks. Okay, but the user experience is much more deeper than what just like looks on the surface, right? The user experience is basically literally everything, right from like every single button that is there, how every single button responds, what kind of feedback does like what kind of actions can you perform using this interface, and how smoothly can you perform it, and like how well engineered this product is. Even backend plays a huge role in the user experience. So as the name suggests itself, like what kind of experience is the user having, right? So that is basically user experience, and that's how you look at it, at least from a beginner's perspective. So I hope that is pretty much like clear. Now look at this meme thingy, and you might understand like the UI, like the reason why UX is a part of UI. So UI might look like, if you go to like a website, or let's just say there are these websites called Dribble and Behance, and people upload their designs on these particular sites, and these designs are very beautiful also. Like if you look at them, you're like, wow, this is very nice, this is very well designed and everything. Okay, but then when if you start using these things, it might look good, but it might actually not have a very good experience. So basically something like, don't judge a book by its cover, right? You don't want to judge a book or like a judge a UI or like a product just based on like how beautiful it's looking, right? You want to make sure that you're having a very good experience as well, and everything is like very smooth. And just keep this one principle in mind when it comes to UX. Okay, UX is user experience, and within user experience there are so many different things. So there is user research, there's user design, like UX design, there's user research, like you do a lot of UX writing as well. So like when you go on Instagram and your posts are not loading, okay, so it shows like a reload icon of sort, and then there's a small text that oops, not reloading, or you don't have internet or something like that, and that contributes to the user experience. Let's just assume that that text was not there. You would have like you would be very confused that why is this not showing up, why is this not loading, what is happening, right? You might be confused at what is happening. So a good user experience is a combination of multiple things, not just the design, but like diving deeper into who the user is, who will be using this particular application, what kind of problems are they facing, and most importantly, like how to make sure that you're putting your best foot forward to like have a very good presentation of your application. So again, so basically this UX umbrella term, it includes UI and everything inside of it. So to like from now on, like this is something that not a lot of people are aware of as well, but this is like a practice in the industry as well, that you usually use the term UX design. So if tomorrow someone comes up to you and says that okay, we want to do UI UX design, you can just say no, it's like UI is just a subset of UX. and it will make you feel better, like more smarter, and more importantly more informed. So, and like you will be helping other people to, like, clear out this misconception as well. But yeah, this is basically an overview. So if there are any questions, let me know. What is the difference between UI designer and visual designer? So there are a lot of differences, because see, visual designers, they are also like, UI designers are mostly responsible for creating user interfaces for like mobile applications or your web applications, right? But visual designers, they also create other sort of experience. They also create like, maybe like very highly edited photos or animations, or some sort of like, videos and stuff like that. So visual designers also diverge in that kind of stuff. But and it's not necessarily limited to your user interfaces or your devices, or like, things like that. So that is the main difference that you should know about. I hope that answers your question. Is it based on users preference? Yes, it is based on users preference, because see, let's just assume that today I create an application which is for toddlers, okay? And obviously for toddlers, it will have to have like a user interface that is very childish, right? It will have like fonts which are very childish and very big text, and like some some stupid stuff, like maybe like if you click on a button it makes a sound. But if you give that application to an adult, or like a 18-year-old Gen Z person, okay, they'll be like, okay, what is this, why should I use this? So user, the kind of user that you're building an application for matters the most. And if you construct your entire experience around that one user, you will be able to do things much in a much better way. And now you might think, there are a lot of people who have this question, that what about Instagram, what about Facebook, and what about all of these applications that everyone uses? So basically, when they started off, okay, when they started creating Facebook, when they started creating Instagram when it started, it was mostly for photographers. So they always had a niche, like niche user group in mind. And then they scaled up, because they once they like got into that market, and once they like created a very good product, there are a lot of photographers installed and used and started using. A lot more people started showing interest in the same thing, and they started scaling, they started marketing. They had a lot of revenue coming in, so they had like enough funds to like go ahead. So that is, obviously, that is more like how a startup works. But these are also things that are a part of it. So user are very important, not just for UX design or anything, but like for the entire future of the product or whatever it is that you're building or using or whatever. So this is just like this is that is just it. Now, why is it important to learn UX design? So now, by now, you might have guessed that there are so many different benefits for learning UX design. But I'll go a little bit deeper into it. Why should you learn this as a student? Okay, and like how is going to benefit you in the future as well. So first of all, why is UX design important? A lot of times we start creating a project, like how, like I'm pretty sure a lot of you might have created some sort of project, right, at some point of time. If not, that is also fine. Like you may have like seen your seniors make some project, or like you just created a project for your mini project or something, right? And have you ever thought that, okay, if I give this, let's just assume that you created a game of tic tac toe. Can you see that, okay, for sure that, okay, if I give this application to another person to use, whether they'll be able to use it properly or not? So usability is the biggest facet of UX design, because when you keep in mind the design, the entire experience of whatever it is that you're building, it helps you create projects that are much more impactful. So like a lot of people, they create side projects that are used by hundreds and thousands of people, right? They're not necessarily some big company, right? So a lot of people, they do these things and make it more usable. They also earn a lot of revenue from these side projects that they're building. So usability is definitely a really big part of UX design. And let's just say that you are like tomorrow, if you think that okay, I want to start a startup, or I want to build a product, or like a side project of sort, like I said before. So if you create, let's say you are creating a startup or something like that, okay, as a student, obviously, you won't have, I don't know, like, it's very difficult to create a startup as a student, but a lot of people have done that. And why do they succeed? Because they focus more on, like, especially if it's a product based startup. Let's just say that you have a product, and you in that startup you're like using that product to like scale or something. Then this product based startup will help you, like, you will have to attract a lot of people. So let's just say that you created a product, let's say an app, okay, and you give it to your friend or like your colleague or some some classmate that you have. So once they use it, if they think that okay, this is like very nice, right, this is like it's super useful. Let's say you create a note taking application and you give it to your friends. If all of your friends like it, they will also recommend other people who are looking for note taking applications, right? So there's going to be word of mouth for your startup and everything. And for a startup, I think the users are the most important people, especially for product based startups. So they need to focus a lot on the UX design of it all, because they can't just create like a very shabby product and ask people to use it and talk about it, because we are used to using such brilliantly designed applications, like all of the social media applications that you see. Have you ever thought about the design aspect of these things? Because you might never have even like thought, like, unless there was some internet issue or something that is like not working or something, or maybe like the app crashed or something. Till that time you would not have realized that okay, there's some the design, there's a design problem in this, or there's a flaw in this application, right? Because good design is always invisible. When you are using an app that is like newly created, like some developer just created this application, and it's a very like shabbily put together application, and you start using that, you're like, okay, this is not good. I mean, there's a bug over here, there's a bug over there, things like that. You start pointing out things that are wrong with it. So that's again like one thing that comes with a lot of iterations. So that's why being a UX designer is not like you just create all the designs once and then the developers create the like convert those designs into code and that is it, like that is it for you. That's not how it works. If you like, I think a lot of you are developers. If GitHub had a completely different UI in back in 2012, or like when it started, right? And today it's very, very different. So, I mean, and that is the same thing for Instagram also. Like even on Instagram, if you've used Instagram since 2015 or even 2008, or back in the day when it started, the UI was very, very different. So there are multiple iterations of the same thing to make the user like have a better experience. So that is why like you need to keep in mind that UX design is an iterative job as well. So it's nothing like okay, I just create designs once and that is it. That's not how it works. Again, now looking at from a student's perspective, like a very first year student or second year student's perspective, if you go to a hackathon, okay, and you are creating a project over there, if you focus on the UX part, there are like separate prize categories for the best designed applications or the best designed hacks. So you can obviously bag all of those if you're focusing on UX design. More importantly, it will catch the the judge's eye as well, because it will stand out from the other projects, because everyone else is focusing on like solving some sort of problem. But if you like also like apart from just solving some problem statement or like creating the front end, back end, or whatever, if you're also focusing on the how it's looking, how it's interacting with the users, whether some third person is able to use it or not, if you focus on these things, you'll be able to create like a hackathon winning project. So again, a lot of benefits to this. So yeah, like um If you have any questions, let's probably see them as well. All right. Okay, I think there are a few questions. So, do UX companies come to Banasthali? Okay, I'm not sure about that. Maybe they do. What does full stack product designer means? Flow of the process, tools. We'll get into that. So, full stack product designer. When I say full stack product designer, it's basically for a lack of a better word because I'm a coder as well as a designer. So I like to call myself a full stack product designer because right from code, like right from designing the project, I can also code it up and do the entire process. So because I have experience being a coder as well as a designer, so I can do both of the things. That's why I put it like full stack designer, not necessarily similar to the full stack developer, like who can do front end, back end, and like everything in between. So something like that. So that's just like that's just a word that is a made up thing. Don't worry too much about it. Does UX include web development, app development, and all that? Or not necessarily, but user experience does include like the part where let's say your response time basically. But again, like that is not something that UX designers look at. That is the job of a software engineer. So UX does not include like coding at all usually, but it's good to have like knowledge of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, like basics of web development, so that if tomorrow you have an idea and you want to create a website or something, then you will be able to be like as independent as possible to create it on your own instead of relying on some other developer or something. So that is just like one other thing that is there. So how to get started with UI and UX design? Let's look at some things on how you can start. Okay. Now, um so first things first, like I mean these are just like tweets that I've embedded over here, and you can just have a look, maybe take a screenshot of this page, because I mean a lot of the things you might not understand at this point, but I'm just gonna go through the process once. So basically, as a UI UX designer, there is no other way. Like, I mean, you can think of it as like you can start. I mean, there's no theory as such. I mean, there is theory, but um, it's more about practicing as much as possible and making sure that you get that that proper design sense when you're like designing things and like creating user interfaces, and then adding the user experience part to all of this stuff. So it basically comes with practice. And even if you don't know the exact laws of UX that you usually learn in courses or other things, then also like it is fine. Like you can get started just by doing something very simple. So first things first is that you can either go to like some website like Behance or Dribble or something like that. Just pick a design and try to replicate it using a tool which is called Figma. So Figma is a tool which is used by UI UX designers. It's the most prominent tool at this point. There are other tools as well. You can check them out, but Figma is a web-based tool and it could be used on any device. Obviously, not on your phone. Figma does have like a mobile application for like showing prototypes and stuff, but that is not like you can't make things over there. But you can use like Figma on the web. There are other tools as well, like Adobe XD. You might have heard of it, but it's more like a desktop application, so you have to like install it and everything. So that is a little bit of a hassle, but it's fine. Like it's also an equally amazing tool. And there's other tools like Sketch, which only works on MacBook, so like on Apple computers. So that is another tool that was used very widely in the industry until very recently, but now it's just like usually it is Figma. So if you learn even one of these tools, you will be able to easily translate your knowledge to the other tools. Like they are pretty much very similar to each other, and if you know one tool very properly, then you can jump onto other tools as well. So there's no rush on that. So that is one thing. So you can definitely get started with Figma. That is one thing. Try to explore it, and we'll do that in just a bit. That's one thing. Then go to these websites like Behance and Dribbble. Just pick a design or anything that you might see that okay, this is something that is like that looks good and it's basic. But first of all, you just want to get into the flow on how to use Figma, how to create designs and things like that, and then move on to the UX part of things, which is like making sure that the experience is good and everything. So I would say that try to make it like as similar to the image that you have found as possible. So that will really help you increase your design skills. You can also enroll in like daily UI challenge or something like that. They give you like they give you challenges every day that design a login page or design a sign up screen or something. So you can do that as well, and just learn Figma with that. And there are so many like honestly, like there are so many great videos on Figma on YouTube as well. And I think apart from YouTube, you don't even have to go anywhere. You can learn a lot of things from YouTube itself. But there are other courses as well, like the Google UX certificate. You can try doing that. It includes a lot of things about UX, like user empathy, lot of things, a lot of great things, and it's a great way to get started. But if you have completed the certificate, I would not say that you are a UX designer. I mean, that is you're nowhere close. You have to do a lot of practice, and in that Google UX certificate, they are just showing you how Google does UI UX. So every company has their own vision, has their own principles, everything that they do. And it's not just about like companies or anything, but it's more about like learning the process in general. So if you like do the Google course, and if you just do that, you will be you might get confused with the terminologies, because they might use some different terminologies and the industry uses some different terminology, so that might have some sort of clash. But obviously it is just a starting point. Treat it as a starting point, and then go forward from there. Create designs, create projects, case studies. So what you can do is like go to this site called Product Hunt. It's a pretty cool site where a lot of people upload their projects and products that they have built, usually like startups and very early stage products. And you can just go there and explore the different kinds of products that are there in today's market. You can also go there for ideas and inspiration, but more importantly, you can just if let's say someone has put their product, and the product is like a web application, and you just go through the web application once, and you can point out flaws in the UX or something like that. Maybe create a case study on that. Just email that case study to the founder of that startup or whatever project that is. Or if it's just a side hustle by some person, you can just email that case study to them. So there might be two things that would happen. You will have an extra project on your portfolio website. That is definitely going to happen. And the second thing is that if let's say the startup is hiring, they might actually think of you as a valuable asset, because you did some sort of hard work without them hiring you or giving you money to do it. So they might be interested in hiring you as well. That also happens. So you can like do several things with UI UX, and there's like a lot of creative freedom that you can explore and stuff. And yeah, like it's basically about taking inspiration from different places and also experimenting on your own, right? So just look at other people's portfolios. What are other people doing? What are the different trends that are going on? Try to replicate them on your own, and then once you have like enough design sense of your own, you will be able to create stuff on your own, right? That's how usually people go about learning. And one more thing that I would like to mention over here is that we also have like this program called 100 Days of UX. So just like 100 Days of Code, there's 100 Days of UX. And we're doing that on the Michi Spotlight Discord server. So Michi Spotlight is like a community experience that I have created for students to navigate like their careers in tech. So basically like, explore more careers. A lot of people think that software engineering is the only career in tech. A lot of people actually do think that. That's actually not the case, as we all know. There are UX designers, there are visual designers, the interaction designers, researchers, and even product managers, product designers. So many different kinds of people are there, so many different kinds of roles are there, and we want people to explore them, learn more about them, get exposed, and like learn about different opportunities. So that's why we're doing the 100 days of UX program. Like we have a Notion doc where every day I put up some challenges related to UX, and you can try those out. All you have to do is like learn and do those challenges, learn something, and put your learnings in a tweet, and then just tweet it on Twitter. So it's pretty straightforward. You can use LinkedIn also if you're not on Twitter. So yeah, that, and just like use the hashtag, and that's pretty much it. So two things happen for that. People are aware that you are interested in UX, and you're actively doing something about it. You're learning UX. So let's say like later on, if someone comes across a job related to UX, they can like refer you or something. So that actually happens. So that's why learning in public is very, very important. So you can do this as well. And the second thing is that learning like as a part of a community, learning as a part of a community always is more helpful than learning alone, because there might be things that you might actually not even wonder about, or that you might have actually not even thought about, and those kind of questions and discussions happen in communities, and you get to learn different things. So definitely that's a plus. So if you want, you can definitely get like join. So now I'll just do like a very quick designing tutorial on Figma. So Figma is the tool that we talked about earlier as well. Let me just pull up my Figma. So if you don't have Figma, like you just have to create an account. It's pretty straightforward that way. You can just create a Google account, like just do a Google sign up and create an account, create a design file on Figma, and then we'll get started. So yeah, like it's better to, I mean, you can either just like see me design stuff, or you can try to do it on your own as well. So I'll just like quickly start exploring things. So I mean, I actually wanted to install a plugin as well, just to make sure, like just to magnify all the tools and the things that are there. So first of all, in Figma things are pretty straightforward, especially as a beginner. What you have to focus on is like this section, okay, the top left section. Try to explore all of the tools that are there over here. So the first thing is like the the file button sort of thing, like file edit. Whenever you go to Google, like a Word file or a PPT file or something, these things always appear, like simple stuff. Although there are like some new things as well, but that is like more specific to Figma. Over here you can like click on this down button. You can see like there are two types of cursors. You can obviously like, I mean, in this session we won't go deeper into scale and all, but move is basically when you like you just create like a cursor or sort for with which you can do a lot of things. So basically that is what the move thing is about. Now you can also create frames. So let's just say that you want to create a mobile application. You can see on this side of the screen, you can see phone, tablet, desktop. So it gives you a, like if you click on, let's say, iPhone 13 mini, what it does, it creates it creates like a screen of that dimension, okay, of iPhone 13 mini. So it creates a frame of that dimension. Now you have a frame. Now you can like create the user interface like very nicely. So you don't have to worry about, okay, what is the size of the screen. And so basically when you go about creating mobile application, you have to think about whether this is going to be for iOS users or Android users, and then based on that you can choose your frames, right? Now you can also use a lot of shapes over here to create different like assets. So or like different components. So basically if let's say I want to create a app bar on the top, I can just create a square or a rectangle, not a square, a rectangle. And there are different things over here. Like over here you can see you can manage the width of this. So let's just make it 300 to make it even, and like this 70, right? And then I can middle line it also. Different things I can do. I can also create a border radius for this. Like let's just take it to 10. So now it's like it's curved, right? So if I select this, I can also change the angle. Let's say keep it to 20, so it's gonna like move like this, even though this is not that useful, but I'm just showing you around Figma. So this is how it's gonna work, right? You can also use other features like other shapes like line and all. And there are like different ways. So let's just say that this line is obviously not straight. So if you want to straighten the line, I can use this angle thing and set it to 0. So it will be straightened, right? I can also change the color of this block using if I just have to select it, and over here there's this fill thing, so I'll just click on that and use a different color using like these color pickers and things like that. So I'll just use this color, right? And if on the line also, like there's this stroke thing, so I can change the color of the line also if I want. Maybe let's just set it to like some hideous color or something that is like visible on the screen, right? And I can also change the the stroke, the thickness of the line, 20 or maybe like 10 or something. um, I can make a line arrow or rounded line or something. A lot of things I can do. So yeah, I mean, this is basically how it works. Okay, this color is like way too much. Let me just turn it back to black, right? And let's just change the stroke to 1. So yeah, I mean, you can do a lot of things with Figma, and this is how you create like your user experiences and user interfaces on Figma. So I hope that helps. Now, if there are other tools as well. So like there is a pen and pencil tool as well. So a lot of people use Figma to create illustrations as well. So graphic designers also use Figma at times, because it's a pretty, like, it's a vector based tool, so you can create a lot of things using Figma. But like for now, like we won't obviously explore this since it's not in the scope of the session. You can also like add text. So you can, like, if you see, like when I hover on this text, and there's this T written over on the side. So if you click T on your keyboard, it will change to like this text wala thing, and you just need to drag it out, and maybe you can add UX design tutorial or like some other text, right? And you can do a bunch of things with the text also, like you can center align it, you can change the font to some other font like DM Sans or something, right? You can change the boldness or like the italic, you make it italic. You can also change the width between the different letters, let's just say 10 percent or -4% to make it like closed together. And you can do a lot of things with Figma. But I'm just helping you sort of explore what are the different things that are there, right? Now, I think this is pretty much it. You can also navigate through all your components on the side, right? You can also create different pages within this. So you can change the name of the pages. Maybe let's say for on one page you want to create all the design. You one page you want to create a design system where where you are creating all your assets, like things like I don't know, colors and all those things. So that is definitely one more thing. Now I'm going to show you a project that I created like some time back, and it's going to like basically give you a very good idea of how UI UX projects work, UX design projects and UI UX projects work. So usually, like, this is obviously not something set in stone, but this is just like for convenience that I've created. So basically, like, I try to decide all the typography, like what kind of font I want to use, what kind of thickness it should have, what kind of font size it should have, and like colors and things like that, and what kind of buttons do I want to have, how it will look on the dark screen and the dark mode and stuff. I also imported some of the icons from like Hero Icons library. You can use plugins for this, not necessarily need to like do all of this. I was just doing that for the sake of that session where I created this live. But yeah, like this is usually how an app login screen looks like, and maybe add an avatar, adding more details to the profile, your interests. This is like basically a rip-off of the Twitter UI. If you've ever used Twitter, you might be able to recognize this. And I've just basically like created Twitter. Like this is the Twitter screenshot, and this is like how I've created on my own. So yeah, I mean, it's basically more about like being able to like replicate certain designs so that you can get used to Figma. That is the first step. And then once you have enough design sense, you can create things of your own. So that is basically it for this session. Now, if you have any questions, we'll take them up, and just let me know like if there are other questions or anything. But yeah, like this is pretty much it for this session. I think we've reached the end as well. I think it's 8 now. So yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for listening to me. And yeah, if you have any doubts, we can check them out now.
Thanks, ma'am. I guess most of the questions have been answered already. We do have some. Is there any? So there's nothing related to coding in UI and UX.
So yeah, I mean, usually not. So you can, like I said, you can learn HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, because that is like usually used to create user interfaces. So like, let's say you have an idea, you create that on Figma, and then you code it up using HTML, CSS. So it will help you, but it's not necessary. Like if you go on a job and see what people are working on, there's a lot of work already. You can't add coding to that, because like there are already like like people hire developers for that, and every single tiny thing has a person, to look after. So basically, like a person usually is assigned to see how the all the text is written, like what kind of marketing copies are used. So I don't want to get into the like the nitty gritties of it, but basically like there's a lot to be done in UX design. So I would say that definitely like I mean, you can learn coding, but it's not required. It's definitely not required.
Okay. So the second question that we have is, how can we join the hashtag 100 Days of UX program?
Right. So there is one way to do that, and that is you like I just posted a link. I don't know if it is working or not, but basically you can use this link tree to like navigate through the Michi Spotlight Discord server, and on that Discord server there'll be a channel for 100 days of UX. Over there there's like we have a link to a Notion document, like a document where all the challenges are given. You can start from day one, and once you finish day one, you can post about your learnings on Twitter and everywhere, and just take the link to that tweet and post it on our Discord, so that we can give you feedback and appreciation and whatever it is. So that's how it works. If you have any questions, more questions related to that, let me know. Like but that is basically how it works.
Okay, so the last question that we have is, what were the initial challenges, or we can say the barriers that you faced while entering this domain?
Right. So initial barriers, I would say that, see, I started back in 2018, and like I had no experience and I did not know anything. Like there were not many resources at the time to learn as well. But today there's like literally a course by Google on UX design, which was not there until like 2 years ago. So I would say that you are learning UX design at a very good time, because there's so many resources, there's so many ways in which you can learn, and like in which you can learn for free also, and not necessarily you have to not necessarily pay for stuff. And most importantly, I think right now people are more aware of how important UX design is, especially like startup founders and entrepreneurs. They are understanding the significance of this domain. So right now, the job market is booming with jobs for product designers. And I think a lot of you might have also heard about Web3 and all of that stuff, basically like blockchain. So Web3, in Web3 projects also there's a very dire need of product designers and UI UX designers. So you can definitely, like, if you pursue this domain, obviously there's a lot of scope and there's a lot of things that you can do. And it's not just about designing and things like that. It's a very iterative process and it's very creative. And if you are interested in something like this, you should definitely pursue it. But I wouldn't say, see, I think one thing that I've observed in most people is that they try to do a lot of things at the same time. And this is something that I did myself as well. Because at the beginning, I used to like do everything, like literally everything, right? From UX design to software development to machine learning and everything. But I would not recommend you to do that. I would say that if you are interested in UX design, try to pursue it as fully as possible. Don't do it half-heartedly, because that will only result in you having lesser projects to show for, and then you will just fall back in the competition. That is again like something that is like a little bit detrimental. It's not necessary to have a lot of projects, but it's more important to have like projects that are like, that truly show your ability to design. And basically it's similar to like why you create projects as a software, like for software jobs and everything. Like you put projects on your GitHub to make sure that people can see how you're coding and what kind of projects that you've built, what is your capability. So for designing as well, that's the same thing. And it's not just about like putting your design, you also have to put forward your process, how you came about creating these designs, why did you make these changes, what are the different things that you're doing with this. So you have to explain your process. You have to be a very good communicator when it comes to UX design. You need to be able to you need to have like a lot of empathy for the user. You need to be like more of a generalist, I would say. More of a like a T-shaped generalist, where you have like you are mastering one thing, that is designing, and then you're doing a lot of things on top of that as well, like understanding the basics of marketing, product management, things like that, and even a little bit of like coding and stuff, so that you can just get ahead of the competition. So I would say these are some of the things. And when it comes to obstacles, like I would just say that my main obstacle was that I was not focused enough in the beginning, and I was into this stuff all along. But right now I don't have that much to show for, even though like I have a lot of experience in talking about the stuff, doing things. But when I apply for a job, like I just have like 2 3 projects, and that's mostly because most of the projects that I work on and most of the time that I spend working on is coding projects, which I can't show to like UI UX people because they need like case studies and things like that. So I would say that if you are interested in this domain, try to make sure that you are sticking to it as much as possible, and just like dabble into like web development or mobile app development, if you like using like front end and all of that. But don't, I mean, I would not suggest you to like go very deep into those things if you're interested in this domain. But yeah, like that's just my 2 cents here. It's up to you, obviously, your priorities. But yeah, that's just my opinion here. But yeah, I hope that answers your question though.
Yeah, yeah. So we just got the last question. Figma and Adobe XD are the only softwares used for UI UX.
No. I think I mentioned this that Figma, Adobe XD, Sketch, these are 3 main softwares. Previously, people also used to use Photoshop, but that is definitely not something that people use now, and you shouldn't because it's overly complicated. You have much better tools. And there's like other tools as well, like Framer and Vision and all of these tools. But see, tools really don't matter that much. Tools come and go. You don't have to care about tools. You have to care about the principles of UI designing and UX designing. So, and all of these things you can learn only by, researching, reading a lot of articles, reading a lot of books, looking at other people's work, studying their work, studying different products and stuff. Only that way you can do. It's a very hands-on experience, so you don't necessarily have to focus a lot on tools you can learn in 5 minutes. I learned Adobe XD in one day, like, because at that time there was like I had no idea what this tool was, and I was using it for the very first time, so it took me like around 7 hours to figure it out completely. But that was like my first year. But you can like do that. I mean, you might actually even take lesser time because there's so many YouTube tutorials today. So you can just follow one of those tutorials and you will be able to like get a hang of it very quickly. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That is all I'd like to add to this.
Okay, that's great. So I hope all your queries have been resolved. And with this, we would like to thank Vaishnavi ma'am for sparing time for us and for such an enriching and insightful session. For future updates, you can stay tuned with all our social media handles and for all the updates. And all the links have been provided in the description box below. We wish to see the same zeal and enthusiasm for the upcoming sessions. Thank you everyone for joining us today. Have a good day.
Bye. Have a nice day.